Hello, guys, and welcome back. You're watching the Camera 64 podcast, and I am your host, Alfonso Chavez. And as always, we're coming to you from San Antonio, Texas, here in the garage, guys. And today on the show, I am going to be talking about the camera that I mentioned in my last video. And it's the camera that I purchased before that. It's a camera I was searching on eBay, and I was actually giving you hints and tips about how to choose good used cameras from eBay, and I just happened to come across this camera and I just couldn't resist having it. Now, full disclosure, I had owned this camera before. It was many years ago, over 10 years ago, that I had originally owned this camera, so I kind of knew a little bit about it, or I thought I remembered a little bit about it, but I am actually quite surprised, guys. So I had mentioned that I was going to go out and I was going to do a shoot with this camera, and I was going to do it at a discounted rate. So I want to be fully transparent here. We were actually shooting a quinceañera for a friend of ours who is a DJ, and I asked him if me and my son could go out because there were some things that I wanted to go over with my son about recording video at quinceañeras. So while we were there, I went ahead and took it upon myself and I asked them if they were in need of a photographer for the event as well. Now, they did have somebody from the family shooting pictures, but the mom was she was excited to have us there, and she allowed us to go ahead and take pictures. So I just want to be very transparent. They did not pay me to do this shoot in any form or fashion, not for the video and definitely not for the photography, but I want to let you guys know that first off. But that's not going to change how I feel about the actual experience shooting this camera again. So let's go over what it was that I used when I went out there to shoot this quinceañera. First things first, this venue it's on the lower end. It's not a tiny venue. I would consider it to be a small venue. There was probably enough room for maybe 120 guests. So it's not too small, but it's not very large either. As far as the lighting situation, when they had all the lights up, the situation actually wasn't too bad, and I was able to shoot with not too much thinking, I guess you could say. I was in aperture mode, and after that, when they actually started the quinceañera, the introductions of the mom and dad and the gifts, they did lower the lights on both sides, so they left the aisle down the middle where the little girl was standing at and having her first dance with mom and dad. They left that area lit, so that was a good. That's always the good. I always appreciate when they do that. And then they had the lights along the outer banks completely turned off. So that was the actual lighting situation, the venue size. Now I want to talk about the actual camera and what it is that I actually used. So I did mention to you the fact that I had bought this Canon 20D online. And first things I want to say about it is it's in fantastic shape, guys. I mean, this thing has very minimal scratches on it. Some of the areas that I really like to pay attention to a lot is going to be the mounting plate right here at the bottom, because right here is where you're going to get a lot of scratches from them mounting it onto different accessories that we use for photography or in photography, and also the grip area. So this area right here around my hand, and definitely the shutter release. If the shutter release is kind of faded or this area is missing a whole lot of paint in here, that's also a very good indicator. And the last is also the flash mount itself, because we do mount flashes in and out of these units often. So that's going to definitely be an area where you're going to get a lot of wear and tear at the top. So this camera is in really good shape, and it shows. It definitely shows. So what did I do when I first received the cameras? The first thing that I always do is I always like to clean out the insides of this and clean the sensor as well. I always have sensor swabs here, and I do my own cleaning of my sensor. And if you would like to see a video about that, please let me know. And also, while we're there, if you're liking this video so far, if you could do as much as give me a thumbs up. And if you're not liking this video for whatever reason, feel free to give me a thumbs down too, so that way I know if I'm doing good or not. So back to the setup. And of course somebody calls. Always when I'm recording, somebody's gonna call. And it's a telemarketer, of course. Of course. So back to the camera, guys. It's a Canon 20D. And so what was my lens of choice? And because I wanted to keep the setup as simple as possible, because the idea is that I want everybody to understand that you don't have to have the latest and the greatest and the best lenses, because one of the questions I get asked all the time is, can I use a kit lens to shoot events? And the short answer is absolutely yes. Now, are there some things that you've got to understand and learn? Yes, as well too, guys. If you know how to use the tools, then you're going to be able to take full advantage of them, obviously, right? So for me, shooting this particular camera, which is a crop sensor camera, it's not the best in low light. I went ahead and paired it with a kit lens, and this particular lens did not come. This particular lens came out after this camera came out, but it's still a kit lens. I think this came with a 70D, if I remember correctly, but don't quote me on that. But this is the 18-135, and I forgot just how nice it was to actually shoot this. 18-135 is a perfect range because I can get really wide shots, and I can get super close-up shots without even getting close to them in any form or fashion. Now, there's some things that you need to understand about kit lenses, and one of them is floating aperture. So if I'm shooting at 18, of course, I'm going to have an f4, but if I'm shooting at 135, I'm going to be shooting at 5.6. Now, I don't want to go too much into that, but basically what I'm saying is that on the wide end, you're going to be able to shoot in with a little bit brighter photo versus at the long end. So when I'm zoomed in to mom and dad dancing, or I'm sorry, the father and daughter dance, I'm able to zoom in. But here's the thing too, that see, there's so much stuff to know about photography, and the fact is that if they're slow dancing, that's the word right there. They're slow dancing. So I can really bring my shutter speed down and get a pretty nice picture. So that was the idea. So I wanted to shoot a 20D. This is the 18-135. And then to keep it simple again, yes, I got an old school flash. Well, I happen to have a lot of these laying around because I like old flashes. But this particular model is the Canon 580EX Mark II. Okay, this is a great flash. It takes 4 AA batteries, and it pairs up really nicely. Now, I do have bigger, better, I have lithium powered flashes. Why would I not use it? Well, because this 20D, right, doesn't have the best focusing of all time. It's actually really slow focusing. So by adding a Canon flash, which is a branded flash that actually matches and mates with this camera, whenever the camera is not able to focus, it shoots out a little beam right here, which will actually allow you to focus even in the darkest of lights, guys. I mean, it can be in a very dark situation and you will still be able to get focus with this camera. And so that is the setup that I had. Oh, and one other thing I highly recommend is this is the Rogue Flash Bender. Now I actually have the little screen on it right now because that was the way I used it last. But for the day of the quince, we actually had this on there just like this, wraps around. And this basically sends a whole bunch of light into the ceiling and sends a small portion of it forward. And so it gets you a nice feel of a picture. So you're going to see that in these pictures here as we flip through. And so we're going to flip through some of these pictures. And if you're wondering, you'll be able to go to my website. And I set up a new page. It's called YouTube Photos. So all the photos that I take here, I'll share with you. So that way you can go and take a look at them very large and decide for yourself, hey, can I shoot events with a Canon 20D? And I was pleasantly surprised you absolutely still can, and you can still do it with a kit lens too. And with one flash, guys, one flash, you can definitely do it. So let's go over those pictures right now. Let's take a minute. I'm gonna jump over here to my computer and we'll look at those. So here we are, guys. I went ahead and put this new link well, actually not a new link, but a new section on my website, and it's right next to the home page here at the top. You'll see that it says YouTube Photos, and this is my title. It's the Canon 20D in 2024 with the kit lens 18-135 f4 to 5.6 and the Canon 580EX2. So gosh, I don't know where to start with these pictures, guys, because I'll be quite honest with you. I did not expect for these pictures to look as beautiful as they do here. Now, this venue did have some mixed lighting in it, and I think that most venues nowadays are going to have some very weird lighting at times, and this one had all kinds of different. Not only did it have some warm lights, but it also had some green lights too. So it was a little bit of hacking or a little bit of messing around to get the colors just right here in this venue. But as you can see, I took the time, I created the template, and basically applied it to all. Now you'll notice there will be a few pictures in here where I guess the person or whatever it was that I was photographing was right underneath the green light. So obviously those scenes had a little bit more green light than maybe other scenes. And so you'll still see a slight green tint in some of those pictures. But it's kind of a good thing that I left them in there so that way you're able to see what it is that I was talking about. But aside from that, gosh, I have to say, other than fixing some tint and some hues here and there, the actual color coming out of this camera, I was very surprised. I was really liking it. Even looking at it on the back of the camera, which was really nice. So I got a couple pictures here. I got some setting the scenes pictures here, her cake, a bunch of tables that they had set up. This is her entrance table with her bear, which is always really nice. And they also had the red carpet set up and a 360 photo booth. And here she is with her mom and dad, which is always a nice picture to take. She's got her aunts and uncles here. And the DJ was super nice. He had his little sparklers, his cold sparks set up. And if you never actually work with a DJ who has cold sparks, it's actually pretty cool. It can really make things look really spectacular. So if you ever hire a DJ, ask him about cold sparks. And the cool thing about it is you can actually run your hand right over the top of that, and it does not burn, believe it or not. The first time he told me about it and actually had put my hand out above it, I was pleasantly surprised that it actually works pretty good. So as you can see, these first couple of pictures are with all the lights up, and you can see how nicely they are. With the exception of the red carpet one, there were some darker areas at that entrance. But with the exception of that, the lighting was actually pretty good. And then here is where the presentation starts, where they walk into the hall. Now, looking at this picture, I want you to really look at this picture here, because see how dark that situation is outside of that hall? You see how dark it is? That correlates with this other picture of the bear. This is the same. This is the picture of this situation right here behind them. You can see how dark it is, and I just want to point that out to you. Why using a flash is amazing, because if you would have done that without the flash, it would have been a difficult situation, and that's why I always recommend flash for any situation. And so now here you can start to see that the lights where the people were sitting are turned off, and we've only got the lights down the middle, which was a good thing. You know, it's always a good thing, because the more light you have, obviously you're always going to get better pictures. So if you can talk them into it or explain that to you, a lot of times they will understand. They want a good product, and you want to deliver a good product. So if they can help you out by leaving those lights on, I would definitely take the opportunity to sit down and talk to them about it, so that way they're aware of what's going on. But yeah, these pictures came out really nice. And also, I mentioned it in the start of the video, is the fact of using the 18-135. Now these pictures here, I am literally standing, gosh, I am way back. And the reason I like to shoot from really far away, I never get up close, is because we're always shooting video too. So my son is shooting video here as well. And so for me not to come out in the video, now I know that I am eventually going to come out in there, but I like to spend as much time off camera as possible. We don't want to be a part of their video if we don't need to. So I'm literally standing back shooting these close-ups here. I'm probably about maybe 40 feet back, or 30, 35, 40 feet back. So I'm a good ways away, and you can still see how close I am because I'm shooting a crop sensor, and I also have a 135 lens, which was fantastic. And again, like I had mentioned earlier too, is the fact that, see, during these activities, they're not moving around much. So you can shoot at 30th of a second if you need to, which is, I think, what I did here, because when I zoom out to 135, I am at 5.6. So I definitely want to come down to like 30 or 40 or, you know, maybe 50, depending on the lighting situation. But these still all look great, look really nice and clear. And so here she is dancing with her dad and now her mom. And then she brought up all the sponsors, everybody that was a part of the financials. And you can see in this group picture here, there's a little bit of green tint coming through. You can see it right here on the wall. See where I'm saying here? See how nice and warm that is compared to this green? And that's because of these LED or fluorescent light bulbs that they have up there. I'm not sure what they are, but they have a green tint to them. And then we brought her over. We did pictures of her cake. And we were in and out. We didn't spend a lot of time there. I think we arrived at 6 o'clock, and I think by 8:30 we were out of there. So we basically asked the DJ to help us out. So we made sure to get all the pictures that we would normally take, because sometimes they'll spread them out, the events, over, you know, a couple of hours, but they all front loaded all of this for us so that we could get all these pictures out of the way and they could get right to the party. So, and then here, after we did that, the last thing that they did right before we left, they wanted to make sure to get this, was this money bouquet, which is awesome. This is her brother right here, and here she is anticipating what's coming next, because they didn't let her know. It was just a surprise gift, and oh my gosh, she was so happy to see all those dollars. And there were a couple of 10s and 20s mixed in there too, from family. And there she is, just happy as can be. And there she is with mom and dad. So you can see, guys, right away by looking at these pictures that not only can the 20D still take pictures in 2024, but they can actually take really good pictures. I genuinely forgot how good this camera actually was. And the funny thing is that I can remember using this camera for sports as well. And this is not a fast shooting camera. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna take the time and hunt down some of those pictures, because I just think it's super important, because when you're shooting sports, you definitely cannot use flash in most places anyway. There are a few that will allow it, but in general, 90% of the time, you're not going to be allowed to shoot flash in sporting events. So, gosh, if I could find those pictures, I will definitely share that. But that's been the podcast for today, guys. I want to thank you again. I know I've been slow at putting out videos, but I swear I'm going to get back on track. And now, with school just about to end, with summertime about to hit, that's when I'm really gonna get into motion here. But if you're liking these videos, I want you to please take the time to give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Like I said, it really doesn't matter, either or. But what it does do is it allows YouTube to know that people are actually interacting, not only watching the video, but you're interacting with it in some form or fashion. Or leave us a comment below too. If you've owned a Canon 20D that you're still shooting in 2024, then please let me know. Share some of your pictures. I would definitely like to see them. You can always visit our website, guys, to see what we're up to right now. The website is really simple to understand. It's www.camera64.com. So you can also do a search for us there. And if you scroll down to the bottom, you can also find the link to our Facebook page, which is always a great place to see what we're doing every week in and week out, guys. But I hope you're really enjoying this, guys. And if you have,
fantastic. I want to be a part of what you're doing, and I want you to see what I'm doing, and maybe together we can have fun, because that's really what we want to do, and also make a little money, guys. Definitely make a little money. So that's been the podcast for today. I've been your host, Alfonso Chavez, and as always, you're watching the Camera 64 podcast here from the garage, guys. Till next time, you take care and keep shooting. Try and find something good to shoot. Take care. Bye-bye.